Hey crew, it's Pitt, and I'm back with a little something different. Today we're going to be talking about The Sound of Freedom. I went and saw it with my wife and my son yesterday, and there's stuff to talk about, and so we're going to. First off, I'm a week late, like it came out last week. I'm well behind the bell curve. I understand that. I am not even trying to get a whole bunch of whatever. Like, these views are for the people who need these views. I'm going to take a different spin on it. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie, even though it was very much a trigger. Uh, if you don't know my story, it's going to get quite personal here in just a minute. And so if things get too much for you, I understand if you got to leave. Uh, if you have not seen the movie, I'm going to try to do this without spoilers. I'm going to try and keep it as general and just use some of the general things. Uh, First off, the production value was out of the world. Like, they did a great job. I liked all the cuts and all the things, and I have studied this. Uh, the the tension was perfect. The music was perfect. The cuts, everything was great. Uh, I've seen a lot of people tackle this from one side of the issue. Right? It's easy as a parent. I am a parent, even though my children are now grown, to identify with the parent side of this. It's easy for people to sympathize if they've not been in the situation with the little girl. But for me, I sympathized an awful lot with Teddy Bear. And if you have seen it, you know who I'm talking about. If not, it is one of the main characters, and I'm not giving away anything by talking about his name. But he's a young child, and he is sexually abused. So if that's going to be a trigger for you, and he's 3 years older than I was. And so the realization that hit me in that moment that I was 5 and the I wasn't sold, right? It was an assault. It was a one-time thing for that one time, but it was a repeated pattern throughout my childhood, not necessarily always non-consensual, not necessarily always in the same manner, right? It was sometimes a understanding thing, because once you're past that point, then you understand. And that's something that's hard for people who have not been in the situation to put themselves in the situation. Because once you have been past that point, then you understand the concepts beyond that point. And that's not normal for a 5-year-old. I was hypersexualized because of my experiences, and I became a predator when I was a child. I was sexually active from the age of 5 until adulthood. I had multiple partners from the time I was 5 until adulthood. By the time I was 15, I had 15 partners. Not all of them consensual, but not all of them hetero. And so my experience of watching this movie was a little bit different than other people's, because I saw the consequences unfolding for these children farther into the future. And I see that even in our mainstream television. I see that even in our mainstream movies that we watch. I see the patterns that I was a part of unfolding in these movies and things. That's why I talk about the things I talk about. It's why I try to express the things that I express. It's why I try to be so open and honest about these things. I was sexualized beyond my experience by the culture that I was in, right? For my dad, sexual gratification was the pinnacle of achievement. For my greater part of my family, that was the same way. To have scored was the best thing that you could possibly have done as a human. That was the pinnacle of achievement. And so for me, having been through this experience, by the time I could see this in them, it was something that I was trying to emulate. And so that is why I grew into what I did. And when I say predator, I was not out there forcefully accommodating, right? Anything that happened from me was consensual, and that is a firm truth no matter who we are talking about. Not everything that happened to me was consensual, but everything that came from me was. And that's a very important distinction that has to be made, because I have more than once been assaulted. More than once, and by more than one sex have I been assaulted. Right? I'm one of those rare hummingbirds or butterflies or whatever you want to call it that has been on both sides of that issue. Right? I have been assaulted by a man and a woman. As a child, by a grown man and a grown woman. And so I can tell you the consequences that come from that type of interaction. And it is not good. Right? It throws all kinds of things off. When you get sexually gratified as a child, it throws your whole development into a whole different pattern from what it should be. And I only realize this now as a grown man from going back and looking at the things and the thoughts and the patterns that I held that other people don't. The things that I thought were completely normal, that my friends now do not. Like, that was not a normal part of their life, whereas I thought it was part of everyone's life. Like, I didn't understand what I was doing wrong when I was doing it. I knew there was something wrong, but I didn't know what. Because everybody around me was like, this is the thing that you do. And so I thought it was the thing to do, but when you get caught doing it, then you get in trouble. And I didn't understand that, because I didn't understand the why. Because we don't tell our kids that. We tell them that it's perfectly fine to watch these people do it on television and have no consequences whatsoever for doing those things. And then we expect them to just intuitively leap that they're not supposed to emulate that. And beyond the abuse that the main focus of the movie is on, and it should be, there's also the physical aspect of it, because I was physically abused too. And so that was also triggering for me when I saw the instances. And it really brings out a visceral response to you. Like, I couldn't even talk about this in this manner yesterday, right? I spent a good portion of the movie with tears coming out of my eyes and anger seething in my heart, because I know the consequences that come from what happens. Like, they got, spoiler alert, they got rescued, right? They got to go home, but it doesn't end for them there. Like, that's not the end all be all of that. That's not where this stops for these children, right? Like, we see the rescue and we're like, that's wonderful. And it absolutely is, because nobody should be in slavery. Nobody anywhere should be a slave. But now, these poor children in a third world country have to deal with this for their life. And they don't have the resources that we do. And that's not a socialist pitch by any means. But these kids who have gone through this experience, because this is based on real life things. These kids get rescued, and that is a wonderful blessing. But now they have to deal with the fact that they went through this, and they have to try and reconcile this period of their life that is forever going to scar them with what they see in normality now. Because normal people, while they mean so well, just don't understand what it was actually like. Like, no matter, like, even, I have a too broad of a knowledge of this because of what has happened and the multiple occurrences. But even the time framing can make a big difference in how the effects happen afterwards, right? Now, most of what I'm talking about, I came to realize after I started doing my shadow work. After I started working into my own brain to figure out why I was having these sexual hang-ups still as a full-grown man in a healthy relationship, having sexual hang-ups about things that weren't normal, right? Not weird, but just not normal. Like, if I didn't have sex, I didn't feel loved. And that's not necessarily, like, not even on a normal level of that, but like, the only way that I could feel love and appreciation was through sex. If I wasn't experiencing it through sex, there was no other substitute for that. And that's a shadow thing. That's something that was wrong. That is something broken in my brain that I had to work out, and I have. I'm much, much better now, and I'm much happier now, but it's because I put in the time and the effort to really dig into these memories. And when I tell you, the memories, they're not pleasant. Not all of them, for sure. And I'm better for it, for having sat in the horror and the terror, for feeling the horror and the terror, for feeling the sadness and the regret, for feeling all of it. Taking the time to really sit in it and to really experience it really has made a difference in my life as a grown man. As someone healing now and trying to heal others, it has made a difference in my life. And that's the reason why we're doing this video today, because I want you, if you're this far along, then you probably feel a little bit of, not necessarily empathy, but brotherhood or sisterhood for some of these experiences. And we need more people talking about this side of it. It is great that these kids go home. It is great that these heroes are out there doing it. I'm very worried that we're not getting the people the help they need to deal with it, because slavery is a very big issue, and there's more slaves now than in the history of slavery, right? Now, but when slavery was legal, and cumulatively up until very recent history. So more people are enslaved now, and we don't have it legal except in a few countries that one of our former presidents helped to ensure would happen. But even here, even in your small town, more than likely, it's happening. And that is the terrifying part. The terrifying part is that there's more. No matter how many we catch, there's more. And that is a sore and a fester that we need to figure out how to lance. And I'm not sure how to go about that, right? I can pray for it, but I don't know, like, it won't happen around me. But other than that, I don't know what else I can do. I'm trying to help people heal so that we don't have these issues anymore. But because hurt people, but healing people, heal people. Loving people, love people, and that heals people because love works. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. It's been a little bit long. I know that I took an unconventional turn on this one, and if you're stuck with me this long, I do appreciate it. Hopefully, I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion to a very difficult topic. Hopefully, I tiptoed around it enough that it didn't pull anybody's switches, and that I didn't spoil anything. The movie was great. I think that every single person should watch it, although I would never be in favor of requiring it. I think that it really would be a good thing to watch. I don't know about bringing young children to it, even though there's nothing that a normal child, like here's the thing, right? You could take a normal child to this movie. A child that has not had any of the experiences that I have, you could take them to this movie, and they would have zero response other than crying and not really understanding why. But if I would have went to this movie at 7 years old, I would have known exactly what was going on the whole time. And that's where I'm going to leave it. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. You are perfect, whole, and complete just the way that you are. And this has been Pitt Stake. Peace.